Nigeria faces multifaceted security challenges such as armed robbery, kidnapping, banditry, insurgency, and separatist agitations. These challenges impact various sectors in Nigeria. Despite the different measures in place by the government to tackle insecurity in Nigeria, these challenges still persist. Recent attacks resulting in loss of lives and displacement of people has plagued Benue State, with government and security agencies working together tirelessly to tackle the challenge. The Benue State government has also launched different initiatives like the Benue State Civil Protection Guards and Operation Anyamnyo to address insecurity. Yet, concerns remain on the effectiveness of these initiatives in safeguarding the lives and properties of citizens in the state. The Chief of Army Staff, Olufemi Oluyede, recently relocated to the state in a bid to curb the insecurity in that region. What more can be done to bring a lasting solution to security challenges in this state and other parts of the country suffering similar fate? These and more are some of the questions our guests on the program will be providing answers to. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ikaria Clinton. And with me in the studio for the conversation is a retired Assistant Inspector General of Police, AIG Wilson Inalebu. It's a pleasure to have you in Nigeria today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
So we'll just start from the basics. Just give us an overview of what is going on in Benue State, just from what you've observed.
Yeah, I think the situation that we have today in Benue is very troubling. People's lives have been cut down. Communities have been displaced. It's difficult to travel on highways because you fear being kidnapped. Even the homes are not safe. Many communities in the past 1 week have suffered several attacks. Is it from Apa local government area, the Ampali community? Over 15 people were killed. And then there were previous attacks in Opaha, in the Diku. Of course, Agatu is well known. And even up to Upa, where some women going to the market were kidnapped. And the situation has reached a level that the Benue people are beginning to feel if the government recognize that they are still citizens of this country, because the steps that have been taken has not achieved much. Yes, the Chief of Army Staff has relocated temporarily. To Benue State. That's not bad, but how can you sustain that? A situation whereby something happens, you react. And I think we should have a more structured approach to dealing with the issue of insecurity in Benue State. But a situation where lives have been lost, as attack is happening in Apa, it's happening in Otubo, it's happening in Adoka, Opa, it's happening in Akpa, Otobi, it's happening in Akpa Maju, around Okete. So there is no part of Benue, especially Benue South. Of course, if you talk of Naka, that border Otubo local government and Apa local government, that place appears to have been completely taken over. And from there, attacks are launched in the rural communities of Apa, Agatu, and Otubo local government, especially in the Adoka and Otobi area. So you begin to see the situation that the people are beginning to wonder, what can they do? They can't farm. This is the time to farm. Everybody is arranging the land to prepare for cropping. But you can't do that now because, I mean, how can you go to the farm? You could be killed. And so the situation that we have is a dire situation. that we need concerted efforts to be taken, that this must not be allowed to continue. Because for me, I think there is total breakdown of law and order. And what do you have on ground? Do you have the resources, especially the personnel resources of the Nigeria Police Force? Of course, they cannot cope. And so the army that is supporting the police is now overwhelmed, more or less. So I think the situation, the lives have been lost. If you look at the statistics from 2023, 2024, and 2025, and even from January to May this year, and up till this moment that I'm speaking, there's no day that goes without sporadic attacks. So I think we have a situation that calls for collective approach. And of course there are operations.
Just sorry to cut short there. You have been, or you are still a security expert.
Yeah.
You've been in the force before now. From your own perspective as a security person, why do you think these kinds of attacks keeps happening in spite of the many measures that have been put in place to address it?
I think measures that you put in place must be foundational. The local government is a critical arm of government. I mean, level of government. But today, the local governments are barely functioning. And so you are not able to develop an effective early warning and response system. The bridge to the community is engagement. Now, you should have an anticipatory mode. You have to have situational awareness. When do we usually have these attacks? Is it when the rains are going on the wind farm on to take place? So you are able to develop the security agencies. They are doing their level best. But I think the security architecture from the National Security Council and the state security committees and the local government security committees, I think there should be collaboration and coordination. And so when you have that, it's easier. It's not about carrying gun, because I think mostly it's related to governance and the developing or improving early warning and response system.
I'll have to stop you here, so that we are just being joined by a strategic security expert, Dr. Sadiq Hassan. It's a pleasure to have you in Nigeria today.
Thank you for having me.
Now, Sadiq, of course, Inalogo here has said quite a lot about the situation we have in Benue State. So we want to have your own perspective about, or what is your perception about the whole situation?
Thank you. First of all, I would say we sympathize with the Benue and the country in general, because insecurity everywhere is a problematic all over the places. As an expert so far, I've said this in 2015, 2014, that the insecurity will continue.
Why do you say that?
Simply because we are not using the right measure to solve it. Security is supposed to be proactive. But if at the end of the day it now comes, your preparedness will now ameliorate it. You now call it, it will never happen again. This is security. But when the issue of farmer-header clash started, we provide solution that this is the way you can nip it in the bud as the beginning. When you don't do that, there's what is called security implications. The non-state actor will take advantage and come in to bring the government down. Both two parties, Fulani, the header, and the farmer, are victims of circumstance. Today, the Fulani will tell you their cow are being stolen
Okay.
They are also be killing.
No.
The farmers, you destroy them. No, I'm not speaking for anybody.
No.
The point is here that...
No, let's not call any particular group here because we just want to get something clear. Is it that...
No, when you say so, you will not be able to get to the root and solve it.
No, because I want to believe that some of these people that pose as headers,
yes,
and are doing one or two killings and the rest of them,
yes,
I also believe that they are imposters because
yes,
most of the headers we see around are harmless.
Yes, that is where I'm going to. I am the victim of attack in 2019. Within Abajana and Okene in Kogi State. The Fulani that comes out with AK-47 are not indigenous Fulani. I saw it with my naked eye.
No, let's not. Then don't call them Fulani.
No, yeah, that's the point I'm going to.
Don't call them Fulani.
These are foreign bandits.
Call them what they are. They are bandits.
Now, these bandits, what government are supposed to do to attack bandits? That's why I said security implications is where they will now target, but that is not the real. They are foreign bandits. Which means from day one, you are supposed to name it foreign bandit attacking our communities, our state, and how the security agency deal with foreign bandits. You deal with them with no, in fact, mercilessly. That is how you design the strategy to approach it. You will see you'll be able to overcome. You now come back again. Which format are they using to create this insecurity? This is where the farmer header names comes up. You are now supposed to put it on the board. If it's simply because my door is open, an outsider has come in to use that as advantage to attack the insider, what do we do? That is where the strategy will now come. How do we stop this? How do we stop this? Then from there, we'll be able to have a solutions. If that has not been put in place, how are you going to stop it? How can we still be on this issue of attack? Most especially the North Central. Right from the beginning till date, the killings continue. And we are saying security agency cannot fight it. I don't believe it because our armed forces has what it takes. And I will tell you, one of the best intelligence gathering agency we have today in Nigeria is DSS and Nigerian police. They have what it takes to get to the root of the matter and how do we solve it once and for all.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sadiq Hassan. We'll take a breather here. The conversation will continue after the break. Don't go away.
Implementation of the ruling is also dependent on another aspect or another arm of government.
Nowhere in the world will allow under digital economy for banks not to be dispensing domestic currency in that economy.
What will make this one different? We want to know what they do as occupation. All of these are attributes that are questions have been designed to investigate.
In a few days to come, you see that they are all around their own crannies and everywhere in Nigeria, telling people to cooperate.
Welcome to Nigeria Today.
Welcome back. In case you're just joining us, this is Nigeria Today, and we're looking at tackling this security challenge in Benue. And of course, I have two security experts here, two gentlemen here in the studio with me for this conversation. Now, back to you, Wilson. Dr. Sadiq, I see you smiling, seriously. Dr. Sadiq has raised some pertinent issues about, being proactive and all of that. Now, tell us, what are some of the steps that should be taken? Because we're looking at the way forward now, the way forward. So what are some of the steps we should take to address these issues? Of course, he talks so much about being proactive.
Yeah, you see, proactivity involves prevention. And that was why I talked about developing a robust early warning and response mechanism. And that these crises on insecurity begin to manifest years, months, and weeks before the attacks. If you are not able to develop that early warning system, and then how do you do that? By the time you engage in community engagement. You see, community engagement is like the bridge to the heart of the community. You know what they are thinking, and you're able to develop the situational awareness of community members. And then they begin to see things that are out of place. Why is that thing like that? They begin to ask critical questions. When you ask those critical questions, you are able to find answers. So there are lapses here. But the situation that we have today, that the Nigeria Police Force that has primacy on internal security is inadequately manned. The personnel resource of the Nigeria Police is grossly limited, where you have police divisions having very few personnel. So even to protect the stations and before they protect the populace. So but the way to do, therefore, is you try to optimize the resources that you have in terms of technology, which is a force multiplier. You have eavesdrop, you have gather intelligence, and all this will help you. But the critical factor that will help, we need also the government have got to step up. Now look, this is the situation that we have. We have in this local government, we have in this state, and the way the government approaches it, the population, the citizens will see, and the criminal elements, and those people will get to know that it shouldn't be so. And I think you can never do anything, no matter what Benue State government does, so long as they're able to pass through Nasarawa and nothing is happening. Therefore, what happens in Kogi State, in Nasarawa State, even the border with Plateau and Taraba, these 4 or 5 states must come together, because it shouldn't be that you commit in Benue, you find sanctuary in Nasarawa or in other places. So the idea is you've got to emphasize and structure it, collaboration and coordination. If you don't do that, whatever you put in Benue, whatever you put on the plateau, you are still going to miss the point. But there should be a clear message, and government should come and take it that, look, our people are being killed. You've got to see those gory pictures. So unless the government take it like that, if you treat it with like kid gloves, you're going to miss the point. So community policing is a proactive measure, because you're able to know what is happening. And so by now we should have rapid response teams within different communities. So when we have this early warning, those rapid response teams within communities are able to respond and deal with them. I don't think they are there. A situation where you have a few the sprinkling of deployment of military assets and police, and they attack this community. Oh, we're in the other place. They attack this. No. There should be an overwhelming response. And we can't claim that we don't know where they're coming from.
Okay, I will have to stop you here, Wilson. Let Dr. Hassan talk to also a little bit. He talks so much about, the government coming, forward. But the Chief of Army Staff has temporarily relocated to Benue State because of this situation. Yes. Will that not have an impact on the situation?
It might have, but cannot solve it. If you remember in the previous administrations, when Burtai was appointed as Chief of Army Staff, he relocated to Maiduguri. What has happened? So if the current Chief of Army Staff has located to Benue, fine, that can only encourage the personnel to a level. As he has said, what are your security architecture in terms of defensive capability and offensive capability? Because it takes two. If it comes, how do you defend this? Before it comes, how do you go? With intelligence. Based on what he has said, because what the issue we are still having today, ideally, is internal security with burden on police. How have you equipped the police? How has police able to have their architectural structures? That is why over time we have been saying, have state police, so that it will lessen the federal police. But at a long time, even the federal police is not encouraging the state police. We are saying the country is taking a different dimensions. We are evolving. It is time for us to have state police that does not take away the federal police, but federal police will now support the state police. Today, as I'm speaking, I don't know whether any security department has come up with a structure how state police should be set up, how are they supposed to be operate, vis-a-vis, based on what the former AIG has said, that will help so that they can be able to proactive. That is why I said, relocating the chief of army staff in Benue State, fine, it is good, but that cannot going to help it because defense headquarters is not relocating to Benue. It's only the chief of army staff who move in there with some of his officers.
So what's the way forward? Now remember, he also talked about technology.
Yes.
Since we don't have enough personnel in terms
Yes.
of human, resources, men and officers, we don't have enough of them.
Yes.
So how can we leverage technology to address these issues? Not just in Benue State now. We're talking about in other states where similar issues are taking place. Yeah,
it is for the security agency to come up with a structure and architectural way forward, bringing the experts, might not be only them, involving those who are not directly but have the expertise. He's a retired AIG, he's a security expert. There are also non-officers who are security experts. Is to come together, looking at what I call history, experience, and reality. Then you now come up. Security are one thing you don't politicize, because when it happens, it affects all of us. So that is why they should be able to come up with a standing that, look, this is one way we can be able to solve. Then we now take the states that are more vulnerable as a case study to start with. That, okay, Benue, Nasarawa State, Plateau State. Within these three states in North Central, what do we do? How do we implement it? If it not work, then such things will not be replicated in other states. But I have not seen that. It is only when we now have this, then we are now moving. But incidents has happened. We don't have the enough personnel that can go around. Technology will aid and facilitate combating security. How many technology have you deployed? If you take Benue, for example, how many drones did police has in Benue State? How long this drone move around in the control room? How did they monitor it? How have you prepared that these are the officers are going to be having permanently in these locations, in these locations, in these locations? You have this drone. Drone is a technology that aid and all that. Before you now said, these are early signing one, then the foot, whatever you call it, will now move in. No. So that is why I said, have they been able to come up with such things? No.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hassan. Now, we'll see. You've heard, of course, what Dr. Hassan said. I just want you to get your, your final, your parting words in 30 seconds.
Yeah. I think the crisis going on in Benue should touch the emotion, the sympathetic mind of any Nigerian. You don't have the numbers. The police does not have the numbers, but they can task and coordinate. What do I mean?
In Benue and other parts of Nigeria.
But yes, there are areas that are not that much. You can drop a snail, just like you do during elections. You drop a snail from here and there. The situation in Benue calls that you draw a snail from neighboring states, the others that are not heavily impacted, and dominate these areas. What do I mean? You take it from Otuko local government, Apa, Agatu, up to Naka, sanitize that section, that sector. If you're able to deal with it, and in dealing with it, if you have elements in neighboring states of Nasarawa, such sanitization should get to that point, not until they cross the water to launch their vicious attack.
Thank you very much. That was the retired Assistant Inspector General of Police AIG, Wilson Inalegu. Thank you so much for coming and sharing your thoughts with us. And also we had a strategic security expert, Dr. Sadiq Hassan. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for being part of the program. I'm Ikaria Clinton. Goodbye.